Hi, my name is Cody Shaw, and this is my CIS 3367 final for Professor Wheeler. I chose to do Solver to create a roster for a fantasy football draft. Now, for my midterm, I focused on the NBA and creating a roster using pivot table and charts. So I thought I'll continue with the theme of sports since it is one of my biggest interests. Now, anyone that has and paid for Excel has Solver. You just click File, Options, Add-ins, and in this bottom right here, you click Go, and it'll be right here. You just click the box here, and then you click OK, and it'll show up under Data, under Analyze. Now, the tricky part about Solver wasn't getting the data, it was manipulating the data and creating formulas for the data, the fixed data, because Solver requires a variable and its constraints. Now, I'm going to move on to the next tab, which is player data. Now, this is a lot of numbers. We're going to break it down slowly. From A to E is the data I pulled up from FanDuel. Now, we have the player name, the salary, the points, and the position. And the percentage of between points over salary. Now, some people might have higher points, but they're going to obviously come with a higher salary, and wanted to see the ratio between the points and the salaries. This was just for my own personal interest. Now, Solver has a few things that we have to focus on. Now, let's click Solver before anything. So we have to create a variable for objective. We're going to create that as points, and we're going to click max. We're always going to focus on max for today, so we could maximize the points that each players will produce with our salary. We're going to have to create a variable, which is basically the cells that Solver is going to change to select the players, and then we're going to have a bunch of constraints. Now, let's close this for now and then talk about each section one by one. For objective, I put points, max, and then we created a formula, which is sum product of the points column and the select column. Now, we did this because I want Solver to select one of these players, and it's going to take that player, which we're going to put a 1 next to, times their points, and we're going to see what our maximum points will be. Here is one of our constraints. Very important. We also did sum product, which is the salary times whichever person they select, and we want that to be less than or equal to 60,000, which is the amount that we are allowed to have in fantasy once we select a player. We are allowed to have 9 players on our roster, so I did a sum of all the of this row right here, select, which is saying that I want Solver to select nine players. Now, a few more constraints is that each roster has a certain amount of positions available. So we have to have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 defense, 1 kicker. In some other fantasy draft leagues, there's a flex position, but that's a little more complex for Solver to use. So we're going to focus on just these positions. We have, as we can see right here, we have nine positions available. Right here on the bottom tells you to sum 9. I made a formula for each of them too. We want Solver to select 1 QB, so I did the sum of all the QB column right here, and there should only be 1. So Solver is only going to do this cell equals to 1, and so on. So this running back, the sum could only equal to 2. The wide receiver, the sum could only equal to 3. Tight end, defense, and kickers, the sum could only equal to 1. Now, what is this right here? This is also our variables that we're going to focus on, because I can't set these cells to this. Now, first off, I made a variable column. These are the cells that Solver is going to be able to change, and it's only going to select 9 out of the 200 cells to fit this constraint of 9 players. Now to select position, I did an if statement. So I did if the position cell is equal to whatever position we want in quotations for text. So this one did QB. If it's true, it'll take cell G2 multiplied by 1. And if it's not true, it would be 0. So why did I do multiply by 1? I did multiply by 1 because if solver did select this, it'll put a 1 next to the name. And then I'll know that I selected 1 QB and I satisfied this quota of 1 QB. And solver will not select more than 1. Now let's put that back to 0, and we did that for all of these. So we did, for running back, we did D2 is equal to text RB. If it's true, it will shoot out a 1, G2 times 1. If it's false, it will be 0. And as we see from before, if I put 1 here, it's all, Cam Newton is not a running back, wide receiver, tight end, so I know I got a QB. Now we did this for all the way to the kicker. So the only thing that really changed in these formulas was the text box. So I fit the text box according to whichever position I wanted the if statement to shoot out. Now that we have all this done, let's use solver. We're going to click solver here. We're going to set an objective, which is going to be right here, the points that we're maxing, the sum product that I showed you earlier. We're going to click max, and our variable cells are going to be this row, this column that I call select, which is I want solver to select 9 players. Now there are more than 200 players in NFL right now that are active, but solver has a limit of 200 variables. So if I have more than that, it will shoot out an error. I put in all the constraints that I mentioned about earlier. The salary cap, I want 9 players, and then the amount of position players I want. But there's one big one that I have to add. So let's add. We're going to select all the variables, and we're going to click binary. So binary would mean that Excel could only shoot out a 1 or a 0. This way, Excel can't shoot out a 0.27 for Matt Ryan and a 0.63 for Drew Brees. It wouldn't make sense to have a fraction of a player. So usually Excel is going to be set to GRG nonlinear. We're going to click simplex LP because all of our constraints and our formulas are linear and they're pretty simple. So let's do that. We're going to click solve. And we're going to keep the solution. Now we could see that our salary cap is max. So the max points that we're going to get is 132.71, which is excellent. We have 9 players and each of these positions are filled. And how we could just double check is we could click here. We go into home. We filter. And then we select here all the ones. So we can see that these are the players that solver selected, and we had 9 people, which is excellent, which is right here, and my if statement worked as it shows the position each player plays in. And we're going to click into our results tab, and I basically just copied and pasted over the results, and this is going to be my roster, and this picture is Mr. Bell, the running back. Excellent choice, one of the top running backs of the NFL league right now, and probably would be one of my choices personally as well. So I'm glad I learned this, and I hope you guys all learned a lot. I just want to give credit to a YouTube video I saw that showed me how to change and utilize the data, the fixed data, into data that's able to be used for solver. And I hope you learned a lot. Alright, thank you. And I hope you guys all could create a lineup of yourself for any sports fantasy leagues with solver that will utilize all the salary amount that you get. Thank you.